My grandfather was a supreme hunter. He was a Grand Slam, hunted all of the sheep in North and South America. He was a hell of a fisherman. He loved fishing in Pinedale, Wyoming, and up in Jackson. And I couldn't have been a bigger disappointment. I mean, I've literally dropped my pole off the side of a deck at the lake. I think it's Beck Lake in Cody. Numero uno.
This is you, this is me, this is us, and this is the Fest podcast coming at you.
Coming at you live, sort of live.
Live, hey, we got
live for four of us.
We got our boys here from Lightjumper Media Production, Jacob and Trace. Thank you, fellas. Thank you once again. I know we gave you applause. We might just give you applause every single episode.
Yep. And if you happen to look at season 1, episode 3 on YouTube, you can definitely see the difference when Luke and I aren't the cameramen.
Hey, you know, it was authentic.
Or the editors.
It was authentic and it was real.
It was real.
It was as real.
I like their version way better. The back and forth, they made us look good.
I do appreciate you staying in the frame and not, having to go adjust the cameras. This is
right.
Nice.
I don't have to sneak off and be try to turn the camera back on. All right, Luke, what's the sound check?
Let's sound check this sucker. This is what we're going to do. We go to ND Country Fest updates here at the Fest. That's where all your ND Country Fest super fans can get all their updates here. And then we go into festival news
from around the world,
which is awesome. We have some great back and forth on that. And I know I always say this, but we have some good ones this time around too.
Yeah, you got some good news.
I have some good progress.
Yeah, progress is always good.
Then we hit the headliner where
you were going to talk more about you, but really the road or the script to Indie Country Fest 1.
Yeah, it gets a little bit into detail, adds another character into the mix here, so that gets fun.
We're going to tease a little Ralphie.
Oh, and then Ralphie's top 3.
Hey, did you work on this?
Which one?
Did you come up with this topic?
I did.
Okay, so we got that covered because I didn't.
So I always got your back.
We would have been doing bottled water.
Come on, that's a good one.
That was a pretty good one.
That was an excellent one. And then stage left, that's when we talk a little bit about ourselves, what's going on in our lives today or tomorrow, or what we're about to do, and that's kind of fun because then people get to know us a little bit.
A little more.
Yeah.
What to watch on TV, apparently, for what I've been doing.
Tell all of our people out there how they can get a hold of us, Jared.
So you can get a hold of us on iTunes, subscribe, rate, and review. Pretty much everywhere else you get your podcasts, go there too, but iTunes is the biggie. And then YouTube. We're really building the YouTube channel out with the boys from Lightjumper.
Hey, that looks amazing.
It does look amazing. They're doing a great job.
They polished you up great.
They did polish me up great. So, and then for that, notify, subscribe. I love when the little YouTube thing comes out, guys. That was sweet. And click it. And then I also like when they brought up the link for Indie Country Fest to click and go. Yeah. So you should watch the video, Luke. Somebody's been working on the phones too much. So,
well, somebody's got to do something.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead and find it.
You got a festival coming out. So go ahead and find it, rate and review, leave a comment. If you got something that you want to talk about or you got something you want to know about, if you like Luke's Joe Diffie shirt or my Paul Coffin shirt, then let me know. Quite possibly, I think the last concert I saw.
I'm pretty sure that was the last concert.
You think so? Mm-hmm. And then you got Joe Diffie, a little RIP respect here.
Yeah. Yep. Joe is great. Great guy.
Right.
Great guy. Yep.
All right. So we're going to move right into
ND Country Fest updates brought to you by Lee Jaworski.
Find your keys
with Lee. Exciting news around ND Country Fest World, which obviously that's North Dakota's Country Fest. Early bird pricing.
That's exciting news.
It is. You want to know why?
Get it cheap if you screwed up and didn't get it really cheap.
If you want to be like Jared and wait and pay more.
I want to pay at the very end at the highest price.
You know, everybody thinks that I give you a free ticket, and I don't.
No, you're kind of a Scrooge.
That's as real as it gets.
It's a good joke, though. It's a running, it's how I buy my tickets for most shows.
I'm just trying to form you into a better
more
buyer.
Conscious buyer.
Yes.
Conscientious buyer.
So we're rolling right now at ND Country Fest with early bird pricing, which means it's still at least 50% off the gate price. And this is good. And you can take advantage of that if you didn't take advantage of the alumni discount. There are some tickets tickets that are getting extremely tight in availability. So I can tell you the Dream Deck gone.
Sold out. And I understand that.
Dream Deck gone.
Like if I'd known it was going to sell out that quickly, I would have bought in early.
It's a great addition to the VIP.
It's a VIP. You're up above. People know that you're elite.
It's quite the deal.
So the VIP camping's selling?
VIP camping is close to being gone. I would bet a lot that by the 16th.
What are we betting?
So September 16th at noon is when our early bird pricing is over and the prices go up. I would bet by that time our VIP camping will be extremely limited, if not gone.
I think we should bet Luke Schaefer's senior picture on the screen.
Amen.
I mean,
let's bet it. Let's bet that either my senior picture or if it gets sold out, then your senior picture.
My senior picture is nowhere near as good as yours.
Doesn't matter.
Mine's just
that's the deal.
Pretty.
Shake that sucker.
All right, I'm in. I gotta find
done
it.
Deal.
I gotta find it.
Oh, you can't get out of this now.
I'm not like you running around with like.
Hey, don't ruin anything.
I know, but that's a picture I would keep, right? Legitimately.
So we want to tell all the people on the updates, hey, make sure you take advantage of that early bird discount. There are certain ticketing prices and things that are getting very tight, and very limited. Make sure you get what you want at ND Country Fest
at the right price.
At the right price.
Like what I want might be at the most expensive price. It's not the smartest decision.
But it might not be there either for you to get.
Oh, that's a problem.
So there we go. That's at Thirsty Thursdays. Make sure you obviously watch us every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central on our Facebook Live at ND Country Fest. Those are live updates, and we make some drinks. We have some good time. It's only about maybe a 10-minute segment, but it's fun. You see us live.
10 to 15, we go on Facebook, and Luke will make the final pour. Yes. Which is a drink, or he'll pour out a Coors Light. And then if you go to Instagram, we do the final bite, which is always a bone of contention around here because we're arguing about what we're going to get and who's going to pick it up, right?
Well, I always have to eat it. Right. So I do get a vote in that.
Have you seen this? I'm glad that I started taking off the quarantine pound.
You have lost a little bit.
A little bit of 20. I got to get a little better. It was looking a little thick on this side.
Some people were getting some big questions about the experience at ND Country Fest and what is new, and we want to touch on that right now. Is the ND Country Fest Main Street. We open every morning, that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 10 a.m.
So the Main Street gets you in, get you to the casino if you want to go to the casino, get you to the vendors, the food.
You can go in and eat right away at 10 a.m. Our day drinking bar opens up at 10 a.m. with drink specials. The casino opens up at that time where you can, we have live entertainment in there as well. Then the shopping from all the craft vendors open up at that time. And then you never know. I mean, sound checks happen at that time. So
right. There's some air conditioning.
Hang out. Yeah, the casino's air conditioned, and so is the day drinking bar. So we want that experience. And we have a big cornhole tournament that ends up going on during that time as well.
Those
There's
tab things?
many things that happen in the Main Street. And that's one of the huge amenities and the big experiences that we've had and that we're adding come 2021.
You've been plotting. You just love adding new experiences to Indie Country Fest.
Well, and what we always talk about is the experience of the actual the fans, right? We want the fans to have the great experience, things that we can add to it, things where there's so many things to do where it's like their big Disneyland for the 3-4 nights that they're there, and they can just go do whatever and go hang out. And we have everything that they can do. We have anything from golfing. We have anything from a casino. We have food.
It's going to be impossible. Shopping. You've got 2 years to scheme to come up. It won't even be recognizable as Indie Country Fest.
You're right. You're right. From what you remember in 2019, you'll look and be like, what just happened?
Dream Deck Casino, like it's going to be the Mall of America right there, right?
Jared, you get me all pumped up. I'm excited. And, but we got a little bit more time to plan.
All right. So we got to roll into the Lee's video. What's great about this? Did you see on the video or on the YouTube that they brought Lee's video in? So now you can see Lee talking about himself.
Yeah, Lee's great. Let's hear a little bit about him.
All right.
That was Lee Jaworski of Alliance Real Estate.
Nice.
Find your keys, Jared.
With Lee.
Woo! Let's fly into one of our. I don't know. I like
Are
this
we flying
one.
in?
I like to change it up. We're flying into festival news
from around the world.
Hit me, Jared. What do you got? Cheeseburgers?
No cheeseburgers. Although the answer was a raclette.
What are you talking about?
For last week when we were talking about all the cheese and you thought cheeseburger, cheese fondue.
You were talking about that Swiss festival.
That's right. Swiss food. Best Swiss food's a raclette. They take a giant wheel of cheese, they heat it up, they slap it on some meat, and it's like the greatest grilled cheese ever. Per the current Mrs. Bennett.
Cheeseburger.
There's no meat on it.
Yes, there is.
Not a raclette. On a cheeseburger, there might be.
No, I thought there was meat in that one. I thought I saw the video.
They put a bunch of lettuce and stuff on it, so we'd still kind of get around it.
Okay.
I could probably ask for a burger on it.
I was probably watching the wrong video then.
Probably. So now we're going to go back to another cheese-related, I guess, festival. The Vale Earth Fair on the Isle of Guernsey. You know what the Isle of Guernsey is made or
excuse me?
Known for? Blah, 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 blah. This is harder than it looks.
Please do tell.
Guernsey cheese.
Where's this at? First, where's this island at, Jared?
It's in England.
Did you just make this up?
I did not. So the island of Guernsey, or the Isle of Guernsey, has not had a COVID-related test in over 100 days, plus days. So they have a fair or a music festival, a festival that's been going on since 1976. So they decided that they were going to open the festival up this year. Albeit they're not bringing in outside artists like the Buzzcocks and people that they brought in before. It's all local. So
you have to be on the island to participate
and attend, essentially.
You know how many people are on the island or not?
I don't.
Sorry, it's not you know.
I know. I got cheese and 100 COVID. That should be enough for the Isle of Guernsey for you, right? So when I was talking today with Jen from here about this, she said, "Hey, that looks like a great." It's an island talent show, and essentially it is. They have spoken word, they have music, they have acting. They were all the town or the islands just putting it all together. This year, the promoter said this is the best year we've had in a long time. Ticket sales are really flying off the whatever tickets fly off of shelves. Platform. They're flying off the platform. I like that. So he said that, people want to get out and they want to start doing things. So that happened last weekend. They had about 35 to 4,000 people that went out and were attending the festival. And it was a big success. And it was neat. They showed pictures of it, and there'd be like a little stage, and there'd be like 20 people watching this person and 1,000 over here watching these people. But it was all homegrown local talent.
Hey, that's cool. And the other thing, when it's there's so much pent up need to go get out and to hang out and go do something in public.
It's crazy. Like just to get out, go out to, I went to get hamburgers last weekend down at Famous Dave's.
Oh, you said it. I was like, plug for Famous Dave's.
2 for $20, two cheeseburgers.
No, now you're plugging them. Wow.
2 fries and a
Stop
cookie.
Stop now.
All for $20, dude. It was a great deal. It got me out of the house.
But you wanted to go out. Why?
I just wanted to do something normal. And when I got down there, I was shocked. There was just tons of people all out and about. They were all huddled in, waiting to go in they're like 6-foot little groups. So people want to do stuff, which leads us to what France is doing. Now, this is France, so I don't know. France is leading the way.
Thanks for your segue there.
I'm moving over.
Here's mine. Here's my festival news around the world. This is from Polestar, actually an article from Gideon Gottfried. So there is...
Who's Polestar?
Oh, Polestar?
Yeah, tell me about it. I didn't know about Polestar.
Massive news in the entertainment world. You go to Polestar, go to you can actually get the magazine if you'd like.
If you're in the biz, you know
what Polestar is.
All right, so you got this is today, and you were all happy as a clam because you called me and you're like, I've got my festival news from around the world.
Hit some cool music for me.
Hit some cool
Not music, but some, one of those cool buttons.
Cool buttons?
Are you ready?
I'm not
I put you on the spot, Jared. Look at you go. Look at him push those buttons, people. There he goes. If you're on YouTube, make a comment. Look how fast those fingers are flowing.
You want laughter?
That was not the right one.
Oh, wait. Here.
There we go. Yes, I love it. Here, France scraps distancing below 5,000 people cap. What that means is they're going to allow... they are going to allow festivals or events larger than 5,000, and they're going to say no mask. You don't need a mask. You don't need You don't need social distancing.
Is it up to 5,000 or less than 5,000?
It says France has lifted the distancing and mask requirements for indoor gatherings of up to 5,000. I was
if
so
it was
excited.
over 5,000, we'd be
I was
partying.
so excited.
You would have moved Indie Country Fest to France.
Sorry, Gideon Gottfried, for messing up your article. In the lowest risk area. So what that means, if 5,000 people or less, there is no social distancing, no masks required. This just came out on August. Actually, they voted on August 26th. So nothing has been put into place yet.
But that's a start.
I love it because it's progress. The other thing that they did is because they put it in their low risk areas in France. So obviously if there's, I don't know, if you want to call it an outbreak in an area, then you can't have it.
You're not going to have a festival there.
But if it's in low risk area, like your Isle of Geezy,
The Isle of Guernsey.
then you can go ahead and load it up with 5,000 people or less and no masks, no social distancing. I call that, my friend, progress.
You call that progress.
Festival news around the world. I was excited about that.
Do I need to do any sounds, or can I run the Indie Country Fest commercial?
I like to say it, Jared. You be you.
Indie Country Fest 2021 is coming back stronger and better than ever with headliners Brantley Gilbert,
It's the night is bottoms up,
Dustin Lynch,
riding roads on a night like this.
Little Texas,
Been sent to spread the message. God bless Texas.
special guest Leroy Parnell,
What kind of fool do you think I am?
Diamond Rio,
We meet in the middle.
John Michael Montgomery,
Life's a dance you learn as you go.
with much more to come. Plan now to attend Dakota's largest and nation's fastest growing country music and camping festival, IndieCountryFest.com, July 8th through the 10th, 2021 at New Salem, North Dakota.
Sponsored by Coors Light, Action Motorsports, New Vision Security, Trans Trash, Smithworks, and American Family Insurance, DJ Coulter Agency.
We're drilling into the headliner, Jared. I love it.
Hopefully he doesn't call back.
Hey, that's brought to you by Bruno. Our headliner is brought to you by Bruno's Pizza, where you can chase the flavor. You can any large pizza at $15.99, specialty pizza that is, and you can chase the flavor and get your orders at brunosnd.com.
All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a callback to last podcast where you came up with what you called the script to getting Indie Country Fest out for the very first time. And that script started off with first thinking up the idea. So we got that when you were out selling swag at Country Thunder here in Phoenix or in Chandler. And then
Florence.
Was it? Oh, it is a ways out there. Is that really Phoenix? That's more like
Florence.
That's Tucson in Mexico. It's a long ways out there. So you thought up the idea. So you had to come up with what? The name?
Yeah, you know, on this portion, we really want to get into the details of Fest Indie Country Fest #1. But the details of it, yeah, the name, I went into that and it was like, what's going to be special in North Dakota? What's it going to be called? How do we make it's North Dakota's own festival, you know? So that's where it came up with ND Country Fest, because North Dakota Country Fest was way too long. Just abbreviated and said, hey, ND Country Fest, it rolls, it's great, and it gives a great NDCF, which I absolutely love.
I think I always get confused with indie music, INDIE. And then you had some indie as in Indiana music.
Well, when I started talking to people about it, and hey, this is Luke with ND Country Fest. We're starting this, I'm starting this out in New Salem and so on and so on. And people are like, ND, like in Indiana, IND. I'm like, no, ND.
Why would we be doing that in North Dakota?
Right, as in North Dakota, which I can get it because sometimes I talk a little fast too. So they're like, Indie? I'm like, no, ND.
So you came up with the idea, you came up with the name, you hooked up with one of our networking friends, Christy, to do the logo, and then Todd got you in touch with WME, which is a gigantic talent agency for the artists. And so then we were moving. You had some momentum going on.
Yeah, that's when things were happening, things were falling into place. And mind you, hey, this didn't happen overnight.
Right.
You know, a lot of this stuff was I was telling you on the pre-show here, it was like 200 calls a day.
It was kind of overnight though, when you think about, you started in January, and then you were putting it on in June.
June, right? Yeah, it was a 6 month turnaround.
It's not like you spent 2 years doing this.
Well, that's why I had to make 200 phone calls.
Right, you were on the phone.
Oh, it was hammering a day in and day out. I probably only slept like four hours a day.
So at what point did it start to turn where it was like, hey, this thing is going to move? Or Was it once you got in connection with WMA, then you got the talent? Then once you got the talent, you had to find the location, or how'd that work out?
Well, it all kind of happened at the same time. You know, literally, you're working like 5 different streams.
There's like a 2-week period
Right.
where it all just sort of clicked.
There's the artist stream, there's the location stream, there's the website getting rolling, the logo getting rolling, and everything kind of working at the same time. And then all of a sudden, it all just went boom, 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 and all of a sudden just fell into place. But it didn't happen overnight. It was call after call and conversation after conversation, and it was definitely not an easy task.
So why'd you pick the
whatsoever.
location?
The location? So it was one of those things where I was actually driving back to my house. And I was like, man, what would be a great spot? I knew Bismarck because that's where I'm obviously from, an original. Right. You know, you can talk about that or see that on episode 1 and hear it.
Episode 2 is all about
details on
North Dakota State University football.
Right. So I was like, okay, Bismarck, I know I have some connections there. I know the people there. And, you know, that mud run was there too. So we already had a base.
You'd already done it a couple of years, so you had some plans and you kind of knew what was going on.
Right. And, you know, same thing with sponsorships. And you can go in and you can talk to some of those people and they can
You kind of did that with the mud run, so you weren't scared or afraid of it. So you were okay to start calling.
Yeah. And sponsorships went all the way back to the youth football camps.
So you're driving home one day and you see the big cow?
No, I wasn't here. I was here.
Nope.
So I was here and I'm like, man, what would be a good location for this? I didn't want it to be in town because then it's in town. It's not really, we want to be country. It's a country music festival.
It's not camping.
You want to go camp.
You want to be in Florence.
You want to fire. You want a campfire. You want to leave your normal life for 3-4 days and not have to think about it yet, but yet be pretty close to either where you're from, which was Bismarck, or someplace where you're pretty close to a bigger city. You know, that's where the idea and the thought came from. And then I'm like, whoa, the huge cow. If you're from North Dakota, ever been from North Dakota, or ever drove through North Dakota, you've driven by that huge cow.
Right.
And you've stopped.
And you stopped and looked at the cow.
So it's a huge beacon.
It's like a Route 66, just one of those things you got to stop at.
It's the largest Holstein cow in the world statue. It sits on okay, so let me tell you something about North Dakota.
It's flat?
It's flat. You can see for miles, right? So I think it's about when you're like 5 miles away, there's a little hill and that cow's on it and you can see it from 5 miles away.
So it's kind of like that dinosaur on the way to LA in Blythe when you're driving
No, because that kind of sneaks up on you, right? You can't see it from miles. Like the cow, you're like, what is that over there? Is that a cow?
Why would somebody build a cow?
And from 5 miles away, you think it's a small cow, right? And then you're like, whoa,
that's a really big cow.
What is that? And then it's lit up at night too, so it's pretty cool. And actually, we changed the colors of it. And it
so you picked the location, you got the talent, you got the marketing going, so then you had to go out and get sponsors.
Yeah, you know, you start making call after call about sponsors and support and what you're doing. And mind you, this had never happened before and it had never taken place before. So what you're talking to people is about an idea. Right. You know, they've never heard of it. Right. And it's like, hey, this is Luke. I'm starting. I'm starting up ND Country Fest, a country music festival in New Salem.
Why would you be having an Indiana music country festival here?
They never said that. What they did say was like, you're doing what? Yeah, that'll never happen. Nobody's going to show up. It's not going to be any good.
What artist are you going to get?
Yeah, what are you going to get?
Bob down at the Dewdrop Inn?
Right. Is it going to be a stage on a semi-trailer?
No offense to Bob. He kind of rocks every once in a while.
You know, so it was conversation after conversation about that. And then it was like, yeah, not interested. Or, yeah, call me back next year if you're still around.
Right.
Or if this
if
even
it works,
happens.
then I don't want to be in on the first time. I'll be in on the second.
Let me know how it goes.
But you still
Good luck.
What, a handful of sponsors?
Yeah, we had a half a dozen sponsors that had jumped on board, which was amazing, and believed in the dream and believed in what we were doing and believed in why North Dakota needed this, and mainly because there was nothing there.
Right, there's nothing to go to. Nobody's coming there. You might get an occasional concert at does Bismarck have a?
Well, there's no festival, right?
Festival.
There's a state fair and there's some county fairs and there's civic centers.
But nothing like Country Thunder or
no, not at all.
Stagecoach.
People had to travel hours upon hours and then pay thousands and thousands of dollars to get there to where this actually occurred in other states.
But instead, they can just go outside Bismarck and have it at a fairly reasonable price.
The other thing on the location is Bismarck is centrally located in the state. Right. And mind you, at this point, we were just thinking just North Dakota, right? I mean, we got to start where our feet are and kind of go from there.
You're just happy to get, 5,000 people in, right?
Right, exactly. But it was like, hey, support this. This is what we're doing. North Dakota's Country Music Festival. But it was conversation after conversation. Good luck. Not going to happen. But we did. We get those ones that jump on board and we're rolling, right? We're rolling. Then we start our marketing and we start talking to radio stations. And
So what did your marketing entail at that time?
Started getting momentum, right? It was radio. It was paper. It was big on social media. Because at that time, you could post something on social media. You didn't have to pay a bunch to get it out to people. It also went out everywhere.
And people in North Dakota, once they realized this was going to happen, had to be pretty excited.
They were, and people loved it. Like, whoa, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? You know, and word of mouth is obviously the best. And then, you know, he started selling tickets and things start coming around and the days start going, the weeks start moving and the months start getting closer and closer. And all of a sudden you're selling more tickets, but then all of a sudden you got to set up, you know, everything else that comes along with it from, you know, then the staging was great because he was always local and we still use him today. Which is Nightlife and which is Jory Berge out of Bismarck and does an amazing job.
Name drop a bunch of people that helped you. So Bob, going back to the football camps, helped you hook up a connection?
Well, that was Bruce.
Sorry.
So
Bruce,
that goes. So even the location, adding that connection comes back to when we wanted the location when I wanted the location at New Salem.
Right.
I was like, man. And then actually Bruce, who started the youth football league with me in Bismarck that we talked about in episode 3. I think it was last one.
I think it was, yeah.
Something. And
they all sort of run together now.
He was actually, I believe he was either the principal or superintendent of New Salem Public Schools.
Right.
So I called him and he goes, hey, yeah, that would be great. Let me get you in touch with who actually authorized that and runs that. It actually ends up being a fairgrounds underneath the cow there. Got me in touch with them and actually it was part of the. There's a football coach involved and all that. Coaches. And they're like, hey, and I already knew him. And they're like, hey, this isn't somebody off the street. He's been doing things for a long time.
All the stuff that you'd previously done kind of led up to this one.
Well, it all kind of intertwines, right?
So then where are we at? We're 2 months out, 3 months out?
We're 2 months out. You know, I'd never done this before. Right. And we were talking, you know, advancing artists. Like, what's that?
You'd done a little bit of a mud run, but anything else, it was just.
And the mud runs weren't small, mind you. I mean, they were massive, but I mean,
they're no concert and they're no artists and there's, you know.
At the one point though, we are doing 2,000 people at the highest. At the end of it, it was still about 800 to 1,000 runners. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole nother conglomerate.
Putting on a whole camping party is crazy.
And a whole nother set of logistics behind it on everything from artists to staging to lighting to even sound checks to all this kind of stuff and whatnot. And I'm like, man, so we're rolling. I mean, it's still rolling. There's tickets being sold. There's sponsors jumping on board. There's, you know, obviously the layout that's coming through.
It's starting to come into shape.
Well, you literally have to take a piece of land because it's raw land. People think, oh, you just roll in and there's a state. No, like you
had to find a place that you could camp.
Which you need land.
Right. Then you have to find a place for the stage.
Which you need land.
So when you roll in there a week before the show, there's nothing there.
Nothing. It's just raw land.
And you're gonna make a new city, a little town.
You're making a new little city of. Well, even at that time, it was our VIP camping.
Right.
Today, it was the whole camping on that.
That's how much you've expanded.
But it was sold out too.
Right.
You know, so even that alone, that was.
People love to camp and drink and listen to concerts.
They love to camp, but even in that little campground right there,
it's sold out.
1,000 people.
Right. Boom.
So that is a small town, right? So you got to think of everything.
So you got to think of all the logistics and all the
lighting,
stuff. And really,
power,
honestly,
water,
right?
Wow, you know,
porta potties,
everything. But we had it, and we had connection. We had great people working with us at that time who still work with us today, and believed in it. But you know, as you get closer, you don't have every stone turned. So I was getting closer and closer, and I was like, man, I need somebody for back of the house. And obviously, for me anyway, when times get tough, right? Not tough, when you need somebody that's got your back and you know them, is like, hey. So I call my brother.
Yeah, I thought we were going to talk about him next week, and we were going to talk about the front of the house with Ralphie this week.
No, we're going to introduce him this week. So I called my brother. He got my back, and that's where we're going to roll into that.
Next week, so can we bring Ralphie on because he's been sitting on hold here?
Is he actually on hold?
He's on. You hear that? Did you hear the ringing earlier?
I did, but I don't know if he answered.
He answered, and I figured out how to mute him. So do we bring him in? How do you want to bring him in?
Well, the one detail I want to talk about before that is you don't know until you experience it, You know, you can sit here and talk about it all day long.
Right.
You know, you're sitting there planning for an event, you know, whether it's a wedding or whatever it is. But this thing is a whole different animal.
All the logistics, all the people involved. There's a back of house, there's a front of house. There's who's going to take care of the artists, who's going to take care of tickets, what's going to happen.
But the energy and the vibe that thing comes as soon as you know everything starts rolling in is something that I can't explain to anybody until you're actually there.
There's a buzz.
You play it out, you run it, and then all of a sudden the plans come in, and all of a sudden when you see 7 semis coming down the road, and you know that's there's the stage, there's the sound, there's this, there's that, and all of a sudden you're in a blank sheet of land. I will say it's a blank canvas,
and then
it becomes. Boom, a huge festival. And all of a sudden it comes a stage. And all of a sudden this. And all of a sudden, literally within 48 to 72 hours, bang, you look and it's like, whoa, this is massive.
I haven't
it's here.
been, but I love the time lapse. I think that they did, I don't know what year that was. And then the drone shots of how it was being built and coming out. It's amazing to just watch that happen.
But it's one, when you plan it,
it's one thing for me to just look at it and go, like, have you ever seen Burning Man when they do the time lapse of it going up and down? It's unbelievable. But if you're putting on Burning Man and you're watching that, there's a little more pride, a little more buzz, a little more electricity to it.
So it's things from when you take your thoughts, right? It's thoughts and creativity, and you're like, okay, this should go here. This would be a great experience because people will see it here and then there, and then, you know, obviously going through that whole thing for a year, right? Basically a year. At that time it was 6 months, but you see it and all of a sudden it's there and it's like, wow, this is awesome.
This is great.
This is great. People are going to love it. But then the second part of that is when you know gates are about to open. Right. And all of a sudden you see a line of cars.
Are people going to show up? There's got to be some.
Well, we knew that because it was going to, you know, we sold tickets, right? But then we didn't know what the gate was going to be and how many people were coming.
How much booze are people going to buy? How much food's going to get bought?
That's exactly right.
The artist's going to be great.
Are they going to like us? Are they not? Are we going to treat them right? Or is this what they're used to? And actually, when that was all said and done, I know it's a little bit ahead of time, but they were like, man, you guys are awesome.
You're just jumping the gun all over the place today.
Taking after you, Jared.
I know.
But let me tell this emotion. You got to let me tell it.
You've told it.
No, it's different than all of a sudden when you see thousands of people lining up at a door and then you open something that was created, never ever happened before, ever. It was never there, ever.
And you
never even thought of. And all of a sudden they're running through the door and they're having a great time and smiles and they're hanging out with their friends and they're having some drinks and they're having some food and it's here. And then they see it and they're like, this is amazing. I love it.
So I guess the only thing what it would be like for me is I used to be in politics before I went to law school.
There's nothing like it.
Getting your candidate elected on election night is a phenomenal experience. Not even close. And it sounds exactly like what you do.
I played in front of 20,000 people at North Dakota State.
I get it.
That was amazing.
I get it, but
the
I understand.
energy, you get a pick and a pick six and you score. That is crowd 20,000 people.
But there's nothing better than when you put on all the hard work that you do, right? You put on, you know, in politics, you're sleeping 2 hours a night, 3 hours a night.
Still not even close.
You're awfully dismissal.
Not even close.
So then.
Not even close.
Okay.
But that's one of those things. It's just one of those things.
Only you know it.
Right. You don't know it until you're there and you've done it and you grind and you do that and then it's rolling. It's like, wow, this is awesome. And like you said, people show up.
All right.
They're rolling.
Let's go back to you needing some help. Mm-hmm. Right. So you went back and you're like, hey, I'm going to need my big brother to help me out. And so you asked him to help the back of house stuff, right?
Which we'll get his reaction next episode, which is going to be great.
What's the back of house?
So that's running everything behind the house, and we don't want to get into too many details on that. But you know, artists showing up and sound checks and make sure load in and load out for artists because there's obviously
a whole
there were 6 artists and set up people, and the artists have their people, and they got to come in, and everything's got to go pop, 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 very, very
orderly
structured.
Because you don't want to have
you can't have random people back there and all that
running around creating havoc. So you need somebody you can trust.
That and obviously with security and controlling all those things and items and all that. But
what's front of house?
That's everybody in front, right? Making sure the front of the house and everything's good from everything from the front all the way to the back. But on that, the first call I made, because I needed obviously main part for any festival
Is the booze?
is the beer, and is the beer and the booze.
All right.
So I was like, hey, I need somebody that I can absolutely 100% trust with that, and somebody who's got some experience.
And so you went. That's when we brought in Ralphie because he had done the food and the booze for the mud run.
Yep, mud run for 2 years. So I gave him a call and said, hey, what do you say? You want to run the beer garden? At that time, we didn't have liquor. We just had beer.
Beer, really?
Yeah, we just had
no
beer.
drinks, so you couldn't have made any of
Well,
your
that's
fancy
a
drinks.
whole nother dynamic.
The law.
And the first time coming through this, right? For everybody. So I said, hey, you want to do the beer garden? He's like, oh yeah. I go, how about, and he knew food and food vendors.
Right.
And I'm like, how about doing the food and food vendors, which he did an amazing job with. And that's where Mr. Ralphie enters.
Enters the story. I mean, he has been on hold for 17 minutes.
But I'm sure he's enjoyed the story.
Right. So I'm going to bring him on. I think if you heard the ringing earlier, that was us calling Ralphie because apparently he was connected to the Bluetooth, not the other one. So let's bring in Ralphie. Ralphie,
hey, what's
buddy?
up, Jared? Hey, what's up, Luke?
What's going on, buddy?
All right. You're on. So does that sound all right, or is Luke just blowing smoke somewhere?
He is 100% right about how you start in August and you have an idea and you just grind it out all year and you get to that field and nothing's there. 24, 48 hours, it turns into a whole nother event, and there's a buzz and the smiles and there's magic in the air, and there's nothing like it. I agree with that.
Like the first time that you were 100% behind the scenes, which was the third year, like when you knew, and there's thousands of people rolling, how did you feel when you were there? You knew the first year, obviously, but then that second year, actually it was the second year, sorry. But you come in and you went through that whole grind. You and I went through it together, and then all of a sudden thousands of people start rolling in. What did you feel like?
Man, like it was a overwhelming flood of emotion.
Yeah.
It was like, man, look at what we did for the state. Look at what we did for New Salem. Man, this is something special, and I'm still glad to be a part of it.
So was that low cash? So obviously,
second year.
Yeah, obviously he had to feel really great about that because it was his number 3 favorite concert of all time.
And what's crazy is that you might say, we know people who got married because they met at the festival.
Oh, you should have him on as guests.
We should. And there's actually a bunch of them. And
Ooh.
they're like, when we were on the tour, actually, that's when it happened. They were like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but we met at ND Country Festival number 2.
So when you're talking about the tour, it's the hometown tour?
Your town tour.
Your town tour.
That's another episode.
Yeah, but you should at least explain what it is to somebody who hasn't been here.
So every March we go around the whole state and we hit 300 locations. Usually it's every small town bar in North Dakota.
And that's you and Ralphie over a 10-day period?
10-day period, about 2,000 miles.
Ralphie, that's a lot of Luke time. A lot of Whoppers?
A couple of Whoppers.
That's not what Luke said. All right, so Ralphie, the first year you come in and you're doing the food and the booze, and how's that go for you?
Not too bad. We're going to back it up a little bit. Coming after that mud run, Bruno's Pizza did the food and beverage for that. Luke came back.
So what's
4 or
Bruno's
5 months later.
What's Bruno's Pizza?
It's a pizza place
that you own.
Luke came back to me and said, hey, we're doing this. We're starting a country music festival. And I thought he was crazy. And he just kind of went through the list and he thought about every little detail. And I was like, I'm in. What do you need me to do? He's like, I need a food and a beverage guy. I'm like, I'm that guy. What do I need to do? So we started, I think we ended up having 5 food vendors, 1 beer station, probably 6 or 7 craft vendors, from anywhere from cowboy hats to little light up trinkets. But it was the first show. It was pretty nice for a one-night show.
All right, so let's back it up way back. So you and Luke know each other from way back, sort of? Was what I heard. You were both football rivals?
Yeah, we played football. I knew him from track, just high school sports. We were about an hour and a half away from each other.
So where did you play high school football?
At Mana High.
And Luke St. Mary's, because we learned that in episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what did you play? What did you play? What position did you play?
Played quarterback and linebacker.
Quarterback?
But,
Ooh, big Roethlisberger.
Can sling it.
Big Ben Roethlisberger.
But
here.
I ended up being an all-state punter.
Yeah. Well, you could have been Pat McAfee. So, and then you're a shot putter too, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yep,
So, Luke,
did,
do you remember any games that you played against Ralphie?
Yeah, I think it was when I was a senior.
Yeah.
I believe so. Is that right? That's accurate, right?
Yep.
When I was a senior up in Minot.
Who won?
Up in Minot, our homecoming game, we lost, I think.
Oh, you ruined homecoming.
I'm pretty sure I kicked a 35-yard field goal for the win.
You
Yeah.
guys
I was a
were
kicker
both
too.
Kickers? Wow. How
I was
cute.
a running back and a safety, but I think I scored the 4 touchdowns and kicked the field goal to win that sucker.
Are we just humble bragging now? This seems mean, Ralphie.
It was a close game. Minot was tough.
What were your stats, Ralphie?
Not very good. I was a junior.
You were a sophomore, weren't you?
I was a junior.
Oh.
And I was running around, having fun.
Having fun. So where'd you end up going to college?
For the first 2 years, I went to Washington, North Dakota State College of Science.
Okay.
For 2 years. I played under John Richmond, which he was a process and a structure guy. Luke, his son, coaches basketball at NDSU, David Richmond.
Yep.
And then
He's a
did
head coach.
track.
He's what?
He's
Yeah,
a
he's
head
head
coach
coach.
at NDSU men's basketball.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
Look it up.
All right. So then how did you end up in the College Hall of Fame?
I think it was a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh.
I just outlasted everyone else.
I don't think that's how it works. I mean, I went to ASU for 6 or 7 years. I should be in some Hall of Fame.
You probably are if you look it up.
I probably am. That's awesome. All right. So
I had 3 good years, and then I ended up coaching track out there for 13 years. And, I think it was just over time, ended up getting that reward. So I'm very honored.
Humble.
Not like Luke Schaefer, who knew how many touchdowns he had and the field goal he kicked to win your homecoming.
You got to wake up pretty early.
Ruin
Jared.
your homecoming.
Well, when you peak at being an all-state punter, it's hard to get in.
It's hard to get better than that.
Hey, you know what? I bet I caught your punts. Obviously.
Not all-state. You probably didn't.
I was gone. Oh yeah, that's true. They're too high. I was like, I'll let it go.
Yeah.
All right, Ralphie. So you did before you bought Bruno's. You got it. You were doing beer distributing.
Yep, I worked at the local beer distributor, McQuaid Distributing at the Anheuser-Busch
So what did that
distributor.
teach you?
They really defined my skills of marketing and product placement and just kind of how to push product, how to sell product, how important it was to be organized and think out processes versus just, hey, the beer goes in the store and people buy it. There's more of a process to that.
It's got to be on the aisles. You got to have a cool display that says Super Bowl.
Traffic
whatever.
flow. Yeah. So Anheuser-Busch did a great job of their selling skills. And then on the back end of it, as a beer distributor, we worked a ton of events. So a lot of events, we were back bars. We brought the trailer in. So we learned how to do and be a part of a lot of like mini events.
So is that how
I
you got
think
hooked up with Lukey?
That's how I felt comfortable agreeing to be a part of like a food vendor and the beer vendor when the Mud Run was in Bismarck.
And what your average person doesn't know, Jared, is that that's an absolute science. It's not just, oh, here's a beer.
I'm going to order this much beer.
Well, you're talking beer, you're talking ice, when to distribute it, how much to be
How many people are going to be in? How much are they going to drink?
Well, you can't be selling warm beer either.
Right.
So
because I won't drink warm beer.
We aren't going to give any tips or tricks out here, but it's definite.
Well, you want to give a little bit to keep the people in.
No, it's a definite super science.
And Ralphie was your scientist, your mad scientist in the back room?
Oh, yeah.
So he's getting the beer organized. And so you really were impressed with how he ran the mud runs.
Well, not only that, but then too, when the first ND Country Fest, because we had many, we've probably been on the phone, probably talked to Ralphie for like 3 straight years now.
Probably more than your wife.
Yeah, probably.
Ralphie, how'd Bruno's come about?
Again, the beer thing, it was time for a change. So I ended up looking at owning my own business, looking at the process of going through and starting my own business from scratch, buying a building, renting a building, all that. Financial wise, it was a lot better for me to buy a company and kind of turn it into my own. So I researched into what was for sale, Bruno's Pizza, and I knew a little history from being on the beer side of it. I've been in the store. I know the managers. I kind of know the crew. Going into it, I felt really confident that, hey, if I take my marketing skills, bring it to Bruno's, they have the pizzas, the recipes, they have everything in place where all we have to do is turn it around and get people to try it.
Did you ever think you'd be sponsoring a podcast such as ours down the road?
Oh, 100%.
100% that was on the script?
Yeah, that was part of the plan.
It really was, and that's no joke. I mean, we've had, like I was saying earlier, like we've had many phone calls, even in that first year. Like it was call after call after call, even from how cold the beer should be, how to temp. Well, I'm not even going to say it, but there's certain things that we've talked about for years now that it's actually down to perfection.
Right.
And even so, like even talking about the marketing and the plan. And we were on a phone call this morning with some other folks. And it was like, hey, the plan that we had, we are actually living it.
You're moving it right now. So, all right. So then you work with Luke for a couple years after the ND Country Fest 2. You become a partner? What's the timeline on that, guys? I get confused. One of you?
So, in 2017, I was the beverage and food coordinator. Ended up by the end of it, I probably was the front of the house. I was doing the carting, just handling all the issues that come up with security, some of the gate issues. So by the end of the festival,
what are gate issues?
Luke, people trying to sneak in or.
Ooh, did they do that?
Yeah. Well.
Everybody tries that at every show.
There's like some 18-year-old.
Never been to a concert?
All right.
No, everybody's completely honest.
Trying to sneak the fence, hop the fence, and get in, huh? All right. So. So Luke got you set up on the front of house.
At the end of it, Luke and I were just sitting around and we said, man, we already talked about the buzz, the feeling, seeing smiles on people's faces. We were like, we have something here. Mm-hmm. There's magic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few key things that we have to change in order to make this bigger and better. And all the way through my beer distributing days, all the beer events had beer gardens. So we decided, hey, let's open it up. You can bring the beer anywhere within the festival area. And, that was one of the biggest concerns coming
Makes for
away from that first year.
a more fun time.
Well, what you don't understand is that there's hurdles. Like that had never been done before.
Yeah, you got to go and get permission from all the various.
It had to be this way, and that was that, and that's what it was for the first year. But then after that, I was like, hey, can we do this, this, and this? Is this okay? Is that good? And then the powers that be said, yeah.
The first year they don't know who you are, right? They don't know what the event is. They haven't been there. They haven't seen it. But once they've dealt with you, they've been there and they've looked at it, then they can start readjusting some of their rules and regulations, I suppose.
But and even getting that permission was a massive thing.
Lots of phone calls.
Lots of phone calls, lots of conversations.
So at this point, you guys are partnered up. Have we wedded you yet, or is that where we're at, Luke?
Well, what that was, it was literally after the festival. You know, it was
You're
probably
in that refractory period. You're just hanging out and going, that was a good festival.
Being in athletics, right? You don't ever just say, "Oh, okay, yeah, it was awesome. That was over. That's it." No, you go back right into assessment.
Right. You got to go back and look. What did I do wrong? What did I do right? This is something I remember. Write it down so you can do better next time.
Right, because it just got over. So that's the freshest time it's in your mind. So obviously we were sitting there and we were talking, and like what Ralphie just said, man, there's something here because there's thousands of people here. They love it. They want. We sold out. The camping sold out. We didn't have enough room, but people more wanted to come in, but we couldn't. And there was just other things too happening around us, and we don't need to get into right now. That there was advantages and there was opportunities out there, and people loved it. People had a great time. Sure, was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect. It was the first time that we ever did it, but the word got out amongst the Nashville community, the country music community.
That something was there.
This is something. These guys got it good. They have something good there. They know how to do it. They treated everybody right.
They got belt buckles.
And then that's a secret. And then
is it a secret?
Then it started just rolling from there. They knew about it. Everybody was tracking us. Other festivals in the region were tracking us. We didn't know that at the time. That was retrospect after we started talking to other folks. But and they're like, man, this is something to reckon with. This is something to reckon with coming.
All right.
And it was literally like, hey, what do you think? Did you like it? He's like, yeah, yep. You know what? I need help. You want to be a part of it? He was like, I'm in.
All right. So that's where we're at.
But with that, knowing that the same values, the same characteristics, the same sports competitiveness, the drive is there. I mean, Ralphie's literally one of the hardest workers I've ever met.
He's a good match for you, and you trust him. So,
yeah.
And that's one thing that I've learned about you. You want to bring in family. You want to bring in the people around you that you trust, and bring them along on your journey. You're not about you. You want to bring other people along the journey with you to have a good team to get you to the side.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you rather jump into the deep end if you can't swim with somebody you know or somebody you have no clue with?
It's probably somebody I know.
Exactly.
Right. All right, Ralphie. So we're going to wrap this up. And then next week on the Headliner, we're going to talk to Luke's older brother, Scott.
Yeah, we're going to bring him in and get his thoughts of and emotions
for the first year back of the house.
From the first year and everything rolling.
Because he'd never done this either.
No.
Which is great. You guys were just a bunch of noobs, and you pulled off a music fest, even though it was even a one-night music fest. Now you're up to 3 is amazing. So
it was a 2-night.
Two
nights camping, one day
music.
Now we're 4 nights and 3 days of country music.
I only care about the music, not the camping, but that's just me.
You didn't even buy a ticket.
I did. I did too. I found my VIP ticket at the very end.
Ralphie, stick around. We got Ralphie's top 3 coming up. We're gonna hit that awesome Bruno's Pizza commercial. Hit it, Jared.
Brothers and sisters, I hear you asking yourself day after day, what am I gonna have for lunch? Do I want another burger? No. Do I need another taco? No. Brothers and sisters, may I introduce you to Bruno's Pizza. Pizza is the bread of endless possibilities. What can go on a pizza can go in a calzone wrap. Look beyond a pepperoni, 32 pizzas in a snack. You like heat, try the lava Hawaiian. Marauder Pizza is also kicking. You need Bruno's Pizza in your life. Let the humble Bruno's Pizza lift you up from your hunger and deliver you into the realm of satisfaction. East Front Avenue, online at brunosnd.com. Can I get a napkin?
Luke, did you know there's a video that goes with this ad?
I've seen it, and it's really good.
Yeah.
Let's eat our way. Jared, into Ralphie's top 3. This is where we give Ralphie his top 3. He doesn't know what the subject is, and I tell him what it is, and then he comes up with what his top 3 of that subject is. Are you ready, Ralphie? Are you still there?
I'm here.
Wow, he's still here.
Here we go. Ralphie's top 3. Give me your top 3 venues of all time for you.
Is it for
Okay, is
him? or
this
just
venues
top
that
three?
I've been to or bucket list venues?
Let's go bucket list. I like bucket list.
I like that one too. Like I would have. So there's a couple of them.
All right, what's number 3?
Hey, I like that one. Go, man.
Number 3.
What's number 3? Fort Bears Casino?
No, Central Park, New York City.
Ooh, that'd be a good
That's
place
number
to see a
3.
show.
That's number 3.
Have you ever been to Central Park or New York City?
I have not.
New York.
You know, as being a kid from Wyoming and Arizona, I never wanted to go. But once I got to New York, New York City, I never wanted to leave. It was the weirdest trip I ever went on.
I thought we established you're really not from Wyoming.
I did 18 years in Cody, Wyoming.
Oh, you did?
and Laramie.
Okay. I thought you said 18 months.
18, no, I went to high school, junior high, and elementary school in Wyoming. I can't be from Wyoming.
Number 2, Ralphie. Top venue. Bucket list. What's number 2?
Red Rocks in Colorado.
What? Love that place.
100% agree. Saw you two there.
I'm
It's
going
the
to
best
drop
place.
the artist I would love to see there, Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Right
He
now,
was there a couple years ago. That would be awesome.
legalize weed. That would be, it'd be the ultimate.
Well, it's in Colorado, man.
I don't think you could breathe. Honestly, it would be bad.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one.
Ralphie.
I'm in. When are we going?
No. When are they going to have a concert again?
Number 1. Hold that thought, Ralphie. Oh, there it is. The number 1 top venue bucket list.
The Gorge in Washington.
Ooh. What makes that so special?
I think I've never been there, but it's right on the cliffs. You can see the ocean from it. Everyone that's been there said it's just breathtaking. You know, you sit on the side of a hill, watch a concert, see the ocean. It's probably really majestic.
Majestic. You painted a picture there, Ralphie. All right, Luke, what's your number 1 bucket list venue?
My number 1 bucket list venue.
Yep.
So my number 1 bucket list venue. I'm a Red Rock guy.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's phenomenal. Once you've seen a show there,
Natural. It's natural. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it just the sound, the music. So mine is a little weird because it's not the venue per se, but when Dropkick Murphys do their St. Patrick's Day shows, they do like 5 shows or 6 shows in 3 days over St. Patrick's Day, and I'd love to go back and be a part of that. The only problem is it's at a time when it's awfully cold in Boston, and I'd probably die of cold. I'd have to buy a jacket and all that, but that is probably one of my bucket list venues to go down on Lansdowne and watch that show.
There it is, Ralphie's top
Ralphie,
3.
good job. You really nailed it out of the park today.
We loved it. Thanks for coming on, my friend. Thanks for jumping on the podcast, telling everybody about our story.
Being on hold 40 minutes. Look at you.
We'll talk to you later, man.
Thanks a lot, guys. Rah, rah, rah.
Rah, rah, rah. All right.
Stage left, Jared. This is where we get a little personal with everybody. Tell them about what's going on in our lives recently.
I'm
going to let you go first.
Oh, I'm going first?
Or do you want me to go first?
No,
I'll go first.
Which one's going to be more fun? You making Bill and Ted quotes or...
Yeah, maybe I should go first.
Me being ignorant about camping.
That'll be a lot more fun. I didn't go camping.
Well...
I'll go first.
All right.
I'll go first. So what did I do last weekend?
You went camping.
Actually, no, I didn't.
Oh, that seems to be what you always do.
My older brother and I, which is Scott, what you mentioned earlier. What a great segue.
Oh, that is true. And we'll get to talk to Scott next week.
Yeah, we went and scouted out the hunting land up north.
Okay.
Yes. And we found some massive 6-point sheds that were out on the land that we were
I have no
scouting
idea
on.
what that means.
It's for antlers that are off of whitetail bucks.
Is
Big
that-
6-pointer out there that rubbed them and then they left them on the winter.
Is that deer?
That's what I mean, man. I mean, are you even from Wyoming?
Look,
like, how can you be from Wyoming and not know what a deer shed is from their antlers?
When I was a kid, my dad killed Bambi. Maybe it was
that's
an elk.
a little harsh.
He brought it home to the garage, and they were I don't know. What do you do with deer? Letting it bleed out and cut off the skin and all that.
You're getting a little too graphic.
Really but I was a kid. So I walk out and I see this with my sister and I'm like, oh my God, freaked out for the rest of the time. After that, my dad never went hunting. Probably a good thing because I'd probably shoot my foot if I was hunting.
I thought you were missing your big toe, aren't you?
I am not. But my grandfather was a supreme hunter. He was a Grand Slam, hunted all of the sheep in North and South America. He was a hell of a fisherman. He loved fishing in Pinedale, Wyoming, and up in Jackson. And I couldn't have been a bigger disappointment. I mean, I've literally dropped my pole off the side of a deck at the lake in I think it's Beck Lake in Cody, and had to go get my dad to come back and get it. And that's how I caught a fish. We came back and there was a fish on the line. So you know, I'm not. I'm a city boy, born and bred. I love the city.
So I would say this: anybody who's from the Midwest or anywhere where hunting and fishing is avid,
right? I was there.
Has a buddy that's missing their big toe because they shot it off with a
I would have
shotgun.
been that guy, but I was smart enough to know otherwise.
I know about 5 of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Good times at your place.
I didn't hunt with those guys. So that was mine. We went and scouted that out. It was a great find. It was a great, we saw some great signs.
So you're ready for hunting season?
We are ready. I'm very excited.
Can we do that socially distant?
Hunting?
I'm assuming.
You're out there by yourself, or one other person. That's way not even close.
I'm sure COVID's tried to ruin everything this year, so I'm surprised it hasn't tried to go after hunting now.
Not that. Jared, what'd you do?
I had a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure movie-thon. I guess I had my own film festival.
Wow.
The current Mrs. Bennett decided that instead of watching just Bill and Ted Face the Music, we had to watch the first 2. So first one I'm good with. It was filmed here in Phoenix. I lived here roughly at the time it was filmed here in Phoenix. So it brought back lots of nostalgic memories of Metro Center Mall when it was the cool place to be. I love that movie. It's funny. It's hip. It's okay. The Bogus Adventure, Death is awesome. He's the greatest character in the whole thing. But some of the fashions, there's like Martians. 2 Martians with big butts make one big Martian with no butts.
Be excellent to each other.
So probably my review of this movie would be if I watched Bill and Ted's Face the Music and only watched the first one, or I didn't watch any of them, I watched the first one, I might think it was cute. And in fact, I kind of thought it was cute.
Are you saying cute?
Cute.
Oh.
Until after the movie was over, my wife looked at me and she's like, "Are you serious? You like this movie? It was really dumb." But it has some good, wholesome energy to it. Bill and Ted have brought up these great daughters. It's their story on how they save reality and all of that. So I kind of enjoyed that. However, the best show out right now, if you got Apple TV Plus, Ted Lasso. All right. It's about Ted Lasso. It's got a college football coach. I'm going to say FCS, maybe like North Dakota State head football coach.
But this is, just so everybody knows, this isn't a true story. It's made up. It's
apparently it was
a
short. It started off as a short on Saturday Night Live or something.
Oh,
it's got like Jason Sudeikis in it. And so he gets hired to go be a head coach of a premier soccer, or I guess their England's football team. And he's essentially flying over from Midwestern America, going over there with Luke Schaefer energy and positivity. And
we're going to do this.
Right. We're going to change this. We're going to believe. We're going to do all of these things. And it is heartwarming. If you've got Apple Plus TV, they let you binge the first 3 when it came out. They're up to episode 5. And literally when I'm done, my wife and I want to watch the next one.
Snagged you.
Everybody I refer this show to, they love it. It's just heartwarming and great. So you should see it.
So I do love the original Bill and Ted's.
It's great.
I'm one of those that I'm always like the initial one.
You were supposed to be talking about Socrates.
Well, that's what I was about to go into.
Let's go. Let's hear some Socrates.
Well, no, like so when my favorite is when Socrates is on the stage with them, right, and he's like talking and whatever, and then I think it's Ted, right?
Right.
He's
interpreting. Doesn't know a lick of
he's like
Latin.
Socrates says he loves San Dimas, right, which is where they're from.
Right. And it's just, I think my favorite part is Genghis Khan going nuts at the Oshmans and beating the crap out of the mannequin with the the baseball bat and just go into town.
I'm also a big fan when they're sitting in. It's one of the earlier scenes when they're sitting in the parking lot on the parking
at
whatever
Circle K, and they're trying to get.
He talks to some lady that rolls in and goes, "Hey, when did the Mongols rule China?"
And she's like, "I don't know. I just work here." So, I mean, that movie has some good plots.
Wild stallions.
So here's an interesting thing. I'm going to go to a movie on Thursday in a movie theater.
So you're a huge movie person.
I do every weekend.
How has it hindered your life because you've not been able to go? You're like Super Pass, man, right? Like you get like 5 movies free a week or something like that.
I belong to the AMC. They should sponsor us. A-list thing. So for $25 a month, you get 3 movies a week. So
I was close.
When we live here in Phoenix, there is honestly nothing to do when it's 115 degrees.
There's
out.
always something to do, Jared.
There is.
You choose.
It's called go to the mall, walk around, and then go catch a good movie every weekend, or 2 movies, or 3 movies every weekend.
That's what you choose.
It is what I choose to do, and it has greatly hindered like what I want to do. So like, I don't like to go out of the house on the weekends between 9 and like 7 or 8 until the sun goes down, because it's just too dang hot out. So if there's no mall to go to, there's no movie theater to go to. It's been.
So are you nervous to go?
I'm not.
What are the rules? Do you know the rules yet?
One of our friends, Fred, went to another chain over the weekend and saw New Mutants, and he said it was almost like the same as regular. You have to buy 2 seats. There's a space in between you.
So is it 2 seats like expensive, or like you buy 1 ticket and you get the other seat?
I think they block them off in 2s. So if you're that guy that goes by himself, then probably there's a space there. You don't have to buy 2 tickets. Everybody's supposed to wear their mask in the theater. But other than that, he said it was just like going to a regular movie.
So is that 50% capacity or something?
Probably. So they're trying to keep a seat or 2 between everybody.
Yeah, and I suppose they clean it then after every show.
Right. And they probably, from what I've read, brought in super air filters. And I mean, the AMC and the movie theaters, the chains here are doing their job to try to rebound from this.
That's exciting. I'm all about progress.
There's literally 2 movies right now, New Mutants and Tenet.
What are you going to see? I know you said it.
I think we're going to see both.
Like back to back.
But I don't know back to back, but Friday, Saturday.
Last question I have for you on this is: are you a popcorn guy, or are you just a soda candy guy?
Wait, soda candy or soda and candy?
Soda and candy, or just popcorn?
For $15, you get a big thing of popcorn, some candy, and a large drink. So I'm that type of guy.
Jeez, you're all the way around the
That's
trifecta.
the bargain. I know what to do.
Jared, how do these people these great people find our podcast?
They can find us on iTunes. Do a search. Look for the Fest podcast, and subscribe, rate, and review. Those reviews, those ratings, and subscribing do a lot to help us get out there. We'd love to have you as subscribers. We're on all the other podcast elements. We should be showing up on Spotify soon. We just got notification we're on Google. So that should be popping up shortly. And then we're also on YouTube with the boys from Lightjumper, who are making us look super good.
They do amazing jobs.
They do amazing jobs.
Check that sucker out and subscribe on that YouTube. It looks great.
Subscribe, notify. It's the Fest podcast, not the Feast podcast.
The Feast. It goes to the Feast automatically because Jared's
so
a beast.
So don't be lazy. Go in there. The more subscribers we get, then we can beat out the Feast podcast.
Hey, we're just getting started, buddy.
We
We're not
are
even
just
scratching
getting
the
started.
surface. We're not even scratching the surface.
All right. So like, subscribe, rate, review, leave comments. Let us know what you want to talk about. Next week, we're going to be hitting the headliner with Luke and his brother Scott and talking about the back of the house.
Fun stuff. We are exiting stage left. We're getting the hell out of here. Jared, if you like these fellas right here, the Quaker City Nighthawks are
I do like
buddies.
them.
Here's to you. Here's to me. You know the rest. And we are